Hello everyone. My name is Hari Srinivasan. I am a PhD candidate in neuroscience. I have had diagnoses of autism and ADHD since toddlerhood. My disability significantly impacts me in communication, sensory motor regulation, and health domains, and it also shapes how I approach research and systems design. The first wave of neurodiversity reshaped public discourse. It affirmed that autistic people are part of human diversity, not defined solely by deficit. It centered dignity and identity. And that was necessary. However, recognition alone does not redesign systems. In many contexts, autistic people with higher support needs, particularly those most impacted by spoken communication, sensory motor regulation, and complex health conditions, remained structurally excluded from education, employment, and civic participation. Recognition in discourse did not automatically produce inclusion in infrastructure. My Neurodiversity 2.0 framework builds on this foundation. It shifts the focus from identity recognition to institutional redesign. This framework is my attempt to move beyond old debates and focus on what actually helps. This year's theme reminds us that every autistic life has value. But value cannot remain symbolic. It must be reflected in how our systems function. Despite progress in language and representation, structural gaps remain. Segregation and exclusion continue in many parts of the world. Many systems are built on quiet assumptions. That communication style reflects intelligence. That cognitive difference signals deficit. These assumptions influence policy and practice. Millions of autistic individuals are non-speaking or minimally speaking. Too often, cognitive ability is underestimated when communication style does not match institutional expectations. Much of the autism conversation has been shaped by either or thinking. Independence versus incapacity. Medical versus social. These simplified oppositions obscure the complexity of human experience and slow structural progress. Across many systems, autonomy is treated as the highest ideal. Independence becomes the benchmark of value. When autistics require visible support, whether in communication, regulation, or daily living, that support is sometimes mistaken for incapacity. In this framework, worth becomes conditional. Neurodiversity 2.0 challenges the idea that support and autonomy are opposites. An autistic can require assistance and still exercise agency, decision-making, and contribution. Interdependence is not a weakness. It is a universal human reality. Neurodiversity 2.0 moves beyond false dichotomies. Autism is biological. It involves neurological and physiological realities. Autistics have real health challenges that deserve solutions. It is psychological, shaping perception, regulation, and lived experience. And it is social, shaped by environments, expectations, and institutional design. A Neurodiversity 2.0 thinking operates within a bio-psycho-social framework. It aligns scientific research with lived experience and grounds policy in the full complexity of human development. This is not a rejection of medicine or supports. It is an expansion toward coherence. Neurodiversity is not a peripheral issue. It is a development question. Who are our systems designed for? Which cognitive styles are treated as default? Design assumptions quietly determine who thrives and who struggles. Alternative communication is not a temporary workaround. It is a legitimate mode of expression. In my recent paper examining artificial intelligence and alternative communication systems, I explore how AI can expand communicative agency for non-speaking individuals, if designed responsibly. Technology does not determine dignity. Design choices do. Technology does not operate in a vacuum. Who controls communication tools? Who defines what counts as effective expression? Governance and policy frameworks shape whether technology expands autonomy or constrains it. Across many contexts, research tends to sample autistics who are easiest to recruit, assess, and retain in structured studies. When methods depend on speech fluency, rapid response, or sustained regulation, individuals with complex support needs become systematically harder to include. Neurodiversity 2.0 calls for expanding methodological design in research, so that the full spectrum can shape the evidence base that informs policy. Development policy does not emerge in isolation. It reflects the data and evidence we generate. If certain autistic populations are underrepresented in research, their needs become harder to see in the systems built from that evidence. When lives are missing from data, they are often missing from design. Education systems often standardize pace, communication style, and evaluation methods. These standards privilege certain cognitive profiles and make others appear less capable. When flexibility depends on a diagnosis or special exception, inclusion remains conditional rather than built into the system itself. Economic systems frequently equate productivity with independence. Autonomy becomes the benchmark of worth. Workplace norms, from interview formats to performance evaluations, often privilege specific communication styles, processing speeds, and regulation profiles. These norms are not neutral. They reflect moral assumptions about whose labor counts and whose support needs are seen as costly rather than valuable. Autistics often experience real biological and regulatory challenges, including sensory, motor, mental and physical health complexities. Health systems must address these realities without reducing individuals to a single dimension of identity. Care and dignity are not opposites. A well-designed system can hold both. Strong institutions depend on inclusive governance. Yet, neurominorities are still rarely present in the rooms where policies are drafted, budgets are allocated, and systems are designed. When policies shape lives without the meaningful participation of those most impacted, procedural justice becomes incomplete. Representation must move beyond symbolism and into structural design. The first wave of neurodiversity changed language. The next evolution must change architecture. Dignity must shape institutions from the beginning, not as an afterthought. Young leaders are not only advocates. They are system designers. You have the opportunity to question default design assumptions about communication, productivity, and independence, and build institutions that anticipate human diversity rather than react to it. If every autistic life truly has value, that value must be structural. Systems must be designed to reflect the full diversity of human cognition and support needs. Architecture is not neutral. It is a moral choice. Thank you.